Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Marketing Matchmaker. I am loving today's episode. I actually have Liz Scully on, who is an expert in masterminds. And if you don't know or haven't been part of a good mastermind, you are missing out because I love my mastermind. And I think it's one of the things that have actually helped me to grow my business exponentially. So, welcome to the show, Liz. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this. I spent 20 years working in film, and I'm now a business strategist. But I spent those 20 years doing visual effects on big Hollywood films, basically sitting in a room with a bunch of sweaty boys, mostly in the dark, because filmmaking mostly happens in the dark. And what they do in film is they get people who are incredibly good at what they do, very like entrepreneurs, and they give them huge budgets and massive pressure and force them to perform again, much like entrepreneurs. And they would do things like they would put a team together for a particular film, and they'd sort of throw you into a room and say, we'll let you out in 6 months, win an award. And I'm like, oh, fine. So I did that for 20 years and I loved it. Once I got out of the room with the award, everything was good. Um, and then I realized when I left the film industry that I could do all of this with fantastically driven, fantastically fabulous people, lovely entrepreneurs, but I could do it in daylight. It was very exciting.
Ah.
And that's what I do now. And the mastermind part is because film is super collaborative,
Yeah,
but entrepreneur life
so
isn't.
lonely.
So lonely. I spent the first, I don't know, 3 months after I left film sort of T-Rex typing in my own room. And I'm like, this is dreadful. Like I need something, I need to be part of a group. And
Yeah.
I heard about masterminds. And at the time I was living in India because I just left DreamWorks, which has a facility there. So I was in India, fantastic, heard about masterminds. These sound good. I want in. And I brought it to the country, set up a business because I'm that kind of person, and immediately started loving it. It's so helpful to work in a group. I know you love your
I
mastermind.
do. I do.
It's this, they are transformational when they're good.
And that, my friend, is exactly where I want to start because we were kind of having a conversation before we started recording, and we were talking about good masterminds versus bad masterminds. I know for those of you that are out there that don't know about masterminds at all, let's give them a quick synopsis of what a mastermind is, and then we can dive into the good versus bad.
Absolutely. They're very simple. In essence, they're a small group of people who meet regularly. And in the sessions, you can ask a question and get all of your peers in the group to give you advice. And you set a goal and you achieve the goal for the next time you meet because nobody wants to be the person that didn't do the goal. It's like Sunday night homework. You've got to get it done before school the next day. And it sounds so simple. But if you consider that, say, psychiatry or psychology is just a conversation that helps people,
Right.
then it's exactly the same thing. It's just a meeting, but it's about a curated group that are all moving together, that are all achieving more. And once you've had a good one, oh, it's so good.
Okay, let's talk about good versus bad. What makes a good one? And on the opposite side of that, what makes a really bad one?
Now, you will have to stop me if I start ranting. So, first of all, a good one is curated. The right people are in the room. They're not just taking anyone who's waving money about. They
Right.
have chosen the right people, and everyone is moving at the right kind of speed. So they are moving towards their goals. Everyone's putting the effort in. There isn't that kind of massive disparity between I'm making 8 figures and I've yet to make $1. There's a nice mix of people. Everyone's there for everyone else. It feels supportive and wonderful. That is a good mastermind. And when you've experienced it, there is nothing like it. It is just fabulous. Bad masterminds. Oh, where do we start? So, first of all, I think your number one problem with most bad masterminds is they're not actually masterminds.
Yeah.
They are, I don't know, a networking group. That's very common. Or they're a lovely weekend away with friends. That seems quite
Hmm.
common as well. Or they are simply a cash grab, a very
Yes.
expensive cash grab from someone who has no idea but wrote it on a a calendar somewhere. We'll start Mastermind 2025. No clue, no plan, no theme. Like when they're done well, you are there for each other. When they're not done well, they're just like a bunch of people who've been fleeced, frankly.
Yeah. And I know a lot of my audience is in the coaching, consulting, service-based industry world, which is where most masterminds sit, right? They're run by oftentimes business coaches or depends on the mastermind, life coaches, depending on what you're doing. So from that perspective of the audience, if they're interested in a mastermind, how do they get started with what kind of results can clients see, or how do they even think about forming one?
Sure. Well, if you're thinking about forming one, the main thing is to think about the outcome you
Yeah,
want people to have. Because when you've been in a good mastermind, you think everyone should be in a mastermind. Everything's great. We think like that. Obviously, you and
absolutely.
I,
Yeah.
like these are fantastic. But when you're starting one and when you're enticing people to join it, you have to have, as with everything in marketing and sales, you have to have a reason for them to join. So
Hmm.
you need to have a very clear theme, you have a very clear outcome, and that might be I'm going to do the first draft of my book, or I'm going to redo the copy on my website, or I'm going to increase sales by 10%. You've got to be clear about what it's about. You've got to make sure you are in a position to at least help people engineer that outcome. Obviously, you can't do it for them
Right.
because that would be done for you, not
Right.
coaching. So you need to be in a world that you understand. So I'm a business strategist. So my masterminds are about business growth. If I was running a mastermind about, I don't know, building a barn or cobbling, it would be of no use because I know zip
Nothing.
about those things.
Yeah. So as the facilitator, you really need to understand where how to direct them in the right direction, the steps that you're taking.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you often, so what's the difference between mastermind and like group coaching?
Glad you asked. So group coaching is more of a I have all the information and let me share it to you. So it's a like a very nice Q&A. And you can have a mastermind alongside that. But a course or group coaching where you are sharing information is a different mindset than when you are leaning in to mastermind together. I think of it as the course, that kind of element is the how do I do it, the what, and I do this and this happens, and the mastermind is the emotional side. Who am I to do this thing? And that it's not quite that clear cut, but that feeling of in a mastermind, you can ask questions like very specific questions about your business, but you're also getting all of that support to do it. Now, a good group coaching program will give you that support, but it won't give you all the other people in the group giving you that 360 vision about what you're doing.
Awesome. I love that perspective because I think in my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, my perspective, I call myself a marketing consultant because I like to tell people what to do. And a coach asks questions, right? And I think from my perspective, group coaching versus masterminds are very similar, right? The mastermind is led by someone who can tell you what to do and how to do it, and also facilitates other people asking questions that maybe you're too shy or scared to ask.
Definitely, definitely, and you're right. I mean, I call myself a business coach or a business strategist, but I could spend all day saying, "How do you feel about that marketing funnel?" if they don't have the information to do it. But if I'm providing information, that's probably one-to-one coaching. If I'm encouraging a whole room full of people to provide the information, that's masterminding.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So when someone's looking at a mastermind, how can they tell a good one from a bad one?
Well, number one, can you just pay and join? If so, it is a bad mastermind. I can guarantee that because the key to a good mastermind is that it is curated, that you have the right people in the room, that you have been interviewed and made sure that you are a good fit and that what you are bringing to the group is what the group needs and that their group can give you what you want. So if you can just pay and join, don't. It will not be a good mastermind. I mean, I suppose it is possible, but no, just no. So, and the curation is really important. The other thing is you probably want it to have been running for a while and you want to speak to other people because most good masterminds, people stay in for years and years and years. My longest standing client, mastermind wise, has been with me for 10 years and they're only staying because it works.
Right. Right. I mean, that's the only reason I've stayed. I think this is year 7 or 8 in the mastermind that I'm in. So very similar. Like it's gotten me to this point. So I stay. It also gives you that mastermind Jones kind of thing where you're wanting to find more of them to really get in there. So when you say curated, though, what does that mean for the audience that's thinking about a mastermind? What does that look like for them?
So when you apply for the mastermind, as said, you have to apply in some manner. So there will probably be some kind of form that you have to fill in to make sure that you are a vague fit. Then there will be a conversation. And whether or not you think of that as a sales call, if it's a good mastermind, the person who's running that is thinking, do you fit into this group? Or
Mhm.
do I have other groups that you are better fit for? So there is at least a questionnaire that you fill in, and then there is some kind of conversation. And then for me, there needs to be no high pressure sales
Mhm.
because to be in a mastermind, you really need to be involved. So for me, when I have interviewed someone, I thought, yeah, I know you're great. And I think of it as like we like with all sales, I've come around the other side of the table.
Right.
Together, we are looking at this is what you need, this is what I've got. Are we a fit? As averse to I have this thing and I will push it on you. So
Absolutely.
if they are a fit, I then send them away for 48 hours to have a good old think about it. Because if they join a mastermind thinking, oh, I'll give it a few sessions and then I'll leave, that's not good for the mastermind either.
Yeah.
So I want people to be committed.
I I know that a lot of people when they think about creating a mastermind or even a group coaching program, either way, but especially since it's the top of a mastermind, when they think about it, they think that it's going to take less time, less effort. So let's cancel out some fallacies, some myths around masterminds, and like the idea that a mastermind is kind of something that you don't necessarily have to prepare for or
Well, I have to say that once the mastermind is running, that it doesn't have as much prep as, say, running a course where you have
right.
to have slides and you have to know what you're talking about in all of those ways. Obviously, in a mastermind, you do need to know what you're talking about, but you haven't prepared a talk or a speech. So I tell my clients that my mastermind training clients that a mastermind, generally speaking, so the groups I run are every other week for 2 hours, so 4 hours a month. I tell them that to average out across the time of your mastermind, it's allow 7 hours a month for a mastermind. So it's very light compared to coaching 6 people for an hour
Right.
every other week.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
it's much less time. And once the session is running, because you don't know the questions that are going to be asked, you can't prep for it hugely. So as long as you are dressed and facing the camera, if it's a Zoom mastermind, and to be honest, you only need to be dressed from the waist up, good to go. So with that side of things, that prep is good. Now, I used to when I first started, I used to send out the goals and I used to give myself homework. No, after the session, I tell people, right, do your goals. I close my laptop and my prep is done for the rest of the day for that particular group. But the tricky thing, as with any thing in your business, is you have to fill it, and that's just standard sales.
Right.
So once you've done the sales part of it, it's very easy to run. And I say it's 7 hours on average. In my year-long masterminds, people take a bit more time at the beginning and the end of the mastermind. And when I'm doing coaching, because everyone gets a little bit of one-to-one coaching with that, those months are a bit busier. But otherwise, like in the middle of the mastermind, middle of the year, it's probably taking me 4 or 5 hours. And I normally run 3 or 4 masterminds at a time. It's not very much time. I don't
Yeah.
work very hard.
I think that's what everyone wants, right? Is that not having to work very hard position. Um, About how many, in your opinion, about how many people is a good size for a mastermind? Like what makes a good mastermind
So
size?
I reckon about 6 people, to be
Yeah.
honest. And it kind of depends if it's online or in person. In person, you can go up to 8 or 10. 8 is a nice number. Online, if you're facilitating more than 6 people, it is very tiring. So make it easy for yourself and do no more than 6 people. In my own groups, I like everyone to have a hot seat, a spotlight every time. So my own groups are groups of 4, which means they get a lot more of everyone's attention. So my price is a tiny bit higher as a result of
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. So what would make a good person that to run a mastermind? Like what do they need to have?
Well, first of all, I never used to say this, but this is so important. You need to like other humans. If you don't like other humans, this is not for you. It's that
I don't think
simple.
the coaching and consulting world in general is for you if you don't like
Yes,
other
yes, please
humans.
leave. This is not for you. But as long as you like other people and you have experience of helping other people make decisions, which for most business owners is most of us. One
Right.
way or another, we have helped people choose between difficult options. And the facilitation part of it is 1/3 of the running a mastermind, but it's the least important part. The most important part is the curation, who gets in the room. And then coaching wise, you are there to showcase other people. So in my case, I always speak last. So as someone asks a question, I get to make sure the rest of the group speaks first. Not least because you probably have this with clients as well. If you speak first, they all go, "Oh, I think what Jennifer thinks." Like that's the right answer. Isn't helpful because the group is so smart. So you don't want to suck all of the kind of thinking oxygen out of the room. And the fabulous thing is, if you are not a coach or you don't feel confident in that element of it, when everyone else has spoken, if you genuinely have nothing to say, and of course you will have things to say, but if you don't, you can say, wow, what a great group. Look at that. I think Dave said something wonderful. Tanisha said something marvelous. Gupta had a great thing there. Isn't that marvelous? Aren't you all fabulous? And you've said nothing.
I love that. I mean, I love the fact that a mastermind, not only is it for me, it's a win-win, right? Your members get to win, and you also get to win when it comes to really creating that work-life harmony where maybe you don't work as many hours. Obviously, the filling it, and that's where I come in to help people, right? Is
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
that.
But I think it's more than that as well. It's that I get to my whole job really is I get to hang out with smart people. In my case, talking about how to grow their businesses. I'm sure it's why my business grew quickly because
Yeah.
they would occasionally come up with something I hadn't even thought of. I'm like, really, I'll try that myself. What a fantastic idea.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so as we wrap up, is there any one bit of information that we haven't covered yet that like you think the audience really needs to be aware of when it comes to a
But
mastermind?
there's one thing, and again, this is going to sound very obvious, but it is super important. Is over the years, I have spoken to thousands of people about their mastermind experience. Sadly, many people have been in terrible masterminds, or occasionally they will bravely admit, I ran a mastermind and it was awful. I don't meet as many of those, but they are there. And what I have sort of dug into, what was wrong with it, what didn't work. And usually it sounds on the surface like there are many different things, but when you dig deep enough, it comes down to a person in the group who wasn't great for
Right.
whatever reason. Maybe they weren't a good fit. Maybe they should have been in one-to-one coaching. Maybe they were always late. Maybe they never shut up. Any of those things. And this is the interesting bit for me. This is the bit that I think is important for listeners is when I said, did you suspect that might be the case? Every single one of them says, yeah, I really thought that would be a problem. So trust your intuition. It is correct because I know myself occasionally, right at the beginning, my curation wasn't as fabulous as it is now. And at
Mhm.
that point, someone would go, I really want to be in, I really want this. I'm going to be great. I won't, I'm going to be exactly what you want. And I would let them in and they would be dreadful. Not immediately, but longer term. And if I had listened to my intuition, and it's not just me, it is every single masterminder I know who's had a bad experience. So if, as you are perusing masterminds, you either have a bit of an inkling about the person running it, oh, it'll be all right. If they annoy you in a, I don't know, 2-minute TikTok, they are definitely going to annoy you long term in a mastermind. And likewise, if they won't let you meet some of the other people or won't let you speak to people who've been in their groups before, that's not a good sign. So speak to them. And if you do speak to them and you think, oh, they're not for me, yeah, you're right. They're not.
I love that because I think a lot of people ignore that. I know in the past I've taken on clients, not even in a mastermind, but just one-on-one clients that I was like, I should have listened to my gut.
Exactly.
That did not turn out well. So definitely everyone out there, listen to your gut. So for those people that are thinking about masterminds, adding it to their business or are interested in a business mastermind, how do they contact you?
Oh, well, I've made your lovely listeners a secret page on my website. So if they go to rethinkcentral.com/matchmaker, they will find a page filled full of PDFs and videos about masterminds. And you don't even have to opt in. I am so mastermind evangelizing that I think they should just have this information. So you can go, check it out, download things, and you will have just a little bit more mastermind inspiration.
I love that. I love that so much. For those of you out there that are thinking about masterminds, head over to rethinkcentral.com/matchmaker. All of this information will also be in the show notes if you don't have a pen with you right now. And if you have a mastermind or a business in general, and you're struggling with your marketing, you're not sure what to do first or next in order to really bring in those clients to fill the mastermind, head over to yourmarketingmatchmaker.com and sign up for a free strategy session. I promise you'll walk away with at least one actionable item that will help you grow your business, increase your revenue, and scale your impact. Until next time, go out there and find yourself a mastermind. I promise if you find a good one, it could change your business. Thank you for listening to the Marketing Matchmaker podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear your feedback. Please head over to Apple, iTunes, and leave a review so we can hear from you. And if you are a coach, consultant, or online course creator who are looking to grow your business, increase your income, and scale your impact, connect with me at yourmarketingmatchmaker.com. I look forward to hearing from you.